and welcome to today's episode of The Sports Break right here on RVN TV. I'm your host, Renee Washington, and joining me via phone call all the way from Baltimore, Maryland, is host of the sports podcast, Rollin with Ramos, Mykell Ramos. Mykell, welcome to the show this morning.
Renee, this is too long in the making. What's up, my sister?
I know it's been a while, but I finally got you on the show, and I'm happy that you're here. So let's start off with football. All right, I know you're a huge Redskins fan. I'm a huge Eagles fan, so we're going to get into the NFC specifically. What's going on with the NFC East right now with your boys down in Washington?
I mean, what's not going on in Washington? Every day is a different conversation. Just a week ago, the Redskins couldn't get it done on Monday night. 0-6 for Kirk Cousins on Monday night. You got a chance to get some respect. The Redskins can't get respect unless even hand it to them. Then you turn around and lay an egg in Dallas. I mean, against the Dallas Cowboys, which burns my oils even more because you know my disdain for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
And then he turns around and gets a game-winning touchdown against Mr. Fourth Quarter Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. Now, you know, a lot of people don't know this about me. You know, I try to keep it a little bit secret. I won't wear their gear because of my love for Redskins, but I'm a big Redskins fan, first of all. But second of all, I'm a tough man. The Seattle Seahawks, it's still a hard game to watch. But nonetheless, excellent game. The Redskins so in Seattle, which is not that easy, against Russell Wilson and the crew, and get a big win. Now we're back to these conversations about does Kirk Cousins deserve money and
right.
The NFC East, but the NFC East to me is still not in the Redskins' grasp. I mean, you got two very good teams in the Dallas Cowboys. The Eagles play very well. They got a big game this week to turn the Kings of the East. So at this point, I guess not me personally. I guess the Redskins faithful, anybody who adores them, I guess you could say it's pretty comfortable with the situation at the time. Not a good thing, but it also isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, you're 500.
Hey, thank you. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's not that bad, but at the same time, for you wanting to be in conversation of the top of you're having conversations about the top of the NFC East, and the conversation a couple weeks ago was who's going to catch the Eagles.
Right.
And it's all about how the Redskins stand a chance, and the Giants are dismal at this point, and the only people that can do it is the Dallas Cowboys. You want to be in a conversation within a stack division. You don't want to be in a conversation of, well, they're just going to play the mediocre sideline and play the middle, and then that's it. I mean, who wants to do that? 500 is good, but 500 ain't
good enough. Exactly. Well, I do like that we can agree that we both don't like the Dallas Cowboys, because anybody in the NFC East especially does not like the Dallas Cowboys. And you make some very good points. You have the Redskins are just so inconsistent right now. I mean, that's a huge win over Seattle, and a game that I honestly thought the Seahawks were going to win based on what the Redskins did the week before. So you can't, to compete, especially with how well the Eagles are playing right now, you can't have those ups and downs. You have to win the games you're supposed to win. And then when you pick up a game like Seattle, now you are in the conversation possibly to be a team that can catch the Eagles. But right now I think your chances are dwindling fast, so to speak.
Hey, man, it is what it is. You never know what the division might shake to be.
That's true.
There was that one year where the Redskins were a shoe-in out of it. You know, an injury goes down. They take the division. So it really, who knows how much of a streak. This could be the catalyst to turn the Redskins season around.
It could.
And then you get in the conversation about, wow, I thought the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles were that far away. Let's be real. Nobody expects the Philadelphia to be in this position. I grew up in the NFC East where with Sean McCoy and Deshaun Jackson and Jeremiah Trotter and Don McNabb. It's been a long time coming since the Philadelphia Eagles was scary. We always knew that they had this potential.
Right.
They could not do it and be consistent in their own right, and finally Carson Wentz has arrived.
That's
so
true.
who knew that they would be on the road they have been on, and not to mention getting a guy really turn the tides in Philadelphia. Another man's treasure is another man's treasure. Hey, he wasn't doing his thing down in Miami. Look what he's doing now.
Exactly. He fit right in.
That he was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said he fit right in this past week, and I think you bring up some good points because as a Philadelphia fan or anybody who has watched the Philadelphia Eagles over the year, they've had teams that have had talent. And you talk about having Deshaun Jackson and Donovan McNabb and Jeremiah Trotter and these different pieces that were in place, yet they were not able to ever compete at the level that they should have on paper. And I think that's kind of the scary thing right now is as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, you're excited, but as an Eagles fan, you're also worried because there is still a good chunk of the season left that you don't know what could happen. I mean, injuries unfortunately do happen, and I'm praying that they do not, but we've seen them. We've seen Aaron Rodgers go down. We've seen different players that have gone down, even on the Eagles roster, that have been big pieces, and they've been able to keep going. So now it's kind of like if they can stay healthy and continue to play well, because that's the other piece of it, you can't get comfortable and complacent thinking you won the NFC East. You have to continue to win every game. Then that's theirs for the taking. But anything can happen, and that's the scary part. And for a Redskins fan, there is still hope. You never know.
Yeah, you never really know. I mean, I try to remain optimistic, Everybody wants this team to go out there and do something right, but the truth of the matter is that the Washington Redskins, as good as their defense is, they have to have an offense that can complete the team to a degree.
Right.
Thompson in that running game still is either is or he isn't. I mean, and as far as paying Kirk Cousins, we've already seen how detrimental paying Kirk Cousins has been.
Right.
Because in not paying Kirk Cousins, I know that the Buccaneers and I know San Francisco's not doing too much now, but I mean, you get rid of a guy like Pierre Garçon, you get rid of a deep threat like Deshaun Jackson. You can't pay everybody all at once.
No.
I mean, Jordan Reed out. Jordan Reed didn't play the last game, so the Redskins went from being a top 10 defense offense to an offense that you really don't know what you're going to get day in and day out. And
right.
It's very unfortunate for a defense that can provide. One thing I do know about the NFC East that gives the Skins a little bit of a chance is that the Skins are always in a position where they control their own destiny.
That's true.
You get 2 shots to go into the playoffs, and all you got to do is beat the Panthers, all you got to do is beat the Giants, and you don't do that, you step on your own foot.
Right.
You never, we talk about the Dallas Cowboys and how great they are, but the Dallas Cowboys always, they're like the Cavaliers of the regular season. The regular season does not matter, but they get to the playoffs and try to sustain it. And
right.
We all know what happened against Green Bay in this kind of double check. So it'll be an interesting conversation in the NFC East, but it's nice that the NFC East is part of the conversation.
I agree. That's one of the biggest things that is exciting, and my goal for the season is to have the Eagles at least win the NFC Championship to make it to the Super Bowl. But
of course you do.
Of course. But I will say that I'm just happy that people are having these conversations. And another conversation that's been had, and Skip Bayless does oh so well bashing the Eagles since he's a huge Cowboys fan. Do you think Dak Prescott is better than Carson Wentz, or what is your thoughts on those two as quarterbacks, comparing them?
I mean, I think they're both awesome, but I think the one thing that Carson Wentz has over Dak Prescott is he wasn't the beneficiary of someone going down. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Carson
right.
Wentz
True.
held the helm in Philadelphia even last year, and we've already been in the conversations as far as Carson Wentz being the guy in Philadelphia. It's just a matter of maturing him, getting him to that level.
Yes.
Dak Prescott, as much as the Cowboys are doing well this year, a lot of people coming into this season were saying, okay, you did that last year, but prove it in the full season.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So this is a great matchup to see these guys that have come from positions where everybody kind of sort of counted them out to in positions where they are at the top. I think the matchup will be a good matchup. It will be a matchup of whose wits end beats the other, especially in crunch time.
Yeah.
And that'll be a good thing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, by taking my biases away from it as much as I possibly can, I do think that right now we're just seeing they're both very talented, and that's the tough part is everybody wants to always compare the best, and we see that across all sports. You want to there has to be one best player, one best quarterback, one best, in the NBA, which we'll talk about later in the show, same thing. But they're both great quarterbacks, and right now I think Carson Wentz is reaping the benefits of having great guys around him, now bringing in Ajay, and having pieces there that take the pressure off of him. Whereas Dak, I mean, if he doesn't have Ezekiel Elliott, then what? So I think it's not just about the quarterback, and they talk all the time about how Tom Brady carries the Patriots, but Tom Brady has good players around him too. It's not just him putting the whole team on his back. He's got some help. So before we go to a quick break, I do have to put you on the spot and ask you, what is your prediction for the Super Bowl coming out of the NFC? I don't know who your thoughts are for the AFC, but I'm pretty sure I think I do. What are your predictions for who is going to be the NFC champion?
I mean, on paper, everybody thought this was going to be possibly an NFC, going to be a Super Bowl matchup again. Same one we had last year. Just it doesn't end up being 28-3, you switch it around. But I honestly think the New England Patriots are going to go back. Yes. The NFC is kind of shaky. I would like to see the Seahawks make an appearance back. Mm-hmm. I would like to see the Seahawks make an appearance back, but also you're having this buzz around Carolina again. And
exactly.
Outside of Cam Newton's press conference issues, and his inability to be, for lack of better words, to be a mature professional.
Right.
He's still an awesome player. And
yes.
Sullivan Benjamin, I don't know what the heck that was, but the first time in a long time, people are looking at the Carolina Panthers again, and there's a buzz around that city again. Can I say I don't know?
Yes, that's fine. That is fine, because I don't know either. I mean, the biggest thing is, once you get to the playoffs, stats, records, none of that matters. It's all out the window. You just have to win that game. So it's a matter of who gets to the playoffs and steps up versus who gets to the playoffs and chokes. So I don't know either. I definitely think the Patriots will be there. That's without a doubt. But with the NFC, it's still a toss-up because you have a lot of talent beyond just how well the Eagles are doing and everyone's looking at them as the front runner. You still have teams like the Panthers and other teams that are knocking on the door. So I don't know. We'll see. Eagles, hopefully, but a girl can dream. All right. Well, we do have to go to a quick break. I'm dreaming. We do have to go to a quick break. When we get back, we're going to shift gears and get into the NBA to talk about some things going on with some super teams, and top teams that aren't playing like top teams right now. So don't go too far. We'll be right back after this break.
Here at Freppi's Tex-Mex, you can definitely taste the freshness in our food. You should definitely come to Freppi's because it's a great place. You can bring your family, very kid-friendly. All my servers are amazing, friendly people. Everyone here is just happy to serve, and I think it shows. The thing that sets us apart is the quality and freshness of our food. And I think once you try it, you'd be coming back. I'm Joe DeSario, co-owner of Freppi's Tex-Mex in Plainfield, New Jersey.
When we make Beyond Natural dry dog and cat foods, we start with real meat as the first ingredient. We leave out corn, wheat, and soy. And we own where our dry food is made. 100%. Can other brands say all that? For nutrition you can trust and your pet will enjoy. Does your food go beyond? Learn more at purinabeyond.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Break. I'm your host, Renee Washington, joined by host of the sports podcast, Rollin with Ramos, Mykell Ramos from down in Baltimore. We just talked about the NFL. We had our predictions and our unsure predictions about what's going to happen as we get towards the postseason. And we now have to shift gears into the NBA. So my Eagles are doing well in the NFL. My Cavs, not so well in the NBA. So as a Wizards fan, Mykell, and just keeping an eye on what's going on the Eastern Conference specifically, are you shocked at all by the teams that we're seeing at the top of the Eastern Conference right now?
You know, I'm a little bit shocked by you saying your Eagles and then you saying I'm saying my Cavaliers. With all that is going on with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons in Philadelphia, I don't understand you. However, it's not my thing. I do, as being from the Lakers capital, of course, I've always grown up being a Lakers fan, Kobe fan, but I've always loved the Wizards and, well, whatever you want to call them. And the interesting conversation in D.C. is you can't go from saying no mercy and what I'm going to have and what I'm not going to do against a team like the Lakers. Right. And then you go and you play a team like Cleveland at home in prime time, and your two stars are not totally there. You can't get it done. You know, this whole conversation about whether the Wizards were in the Eastern Conference last year wouldn't have been that much of a bloodbath as it was during the Cavaliers faced Celtics. And
right.
I mean, I agree as well. Everybody agreed on the potential of that being a good series. I mean, let's be real. The Wizards when they played the Cavaliers last season, one game they lost at home in overtime, but they took the Cavs to overtime and LeBron fouled out. Then they took the Cavaliers at home.
Yeah.
So they have the potential to be the team that can take care of the Cavaliers, and it doesn't matter what the matchup is. But you allow LeBron to come in at 50 and score 57. At some point, not because this is the scene of the DC sports, but it's not talk about it, be about it. Are you an elite team or are you not? Is John Wall is a star. He is a superstar, but if you make definitive statements, go out there and prove those definitive statements. How do you match up against teams that are elite? You talk about the Cavaliers. You lost by about 3 to the Warriors. That means you can go into that camp and you can produce. People are looking for the Wizards to actually be the team that stays within the top 5 conversation. And unfortunately for them, with all these matchups that have happened in the Eastern Conference and Western Conference, all these super teams have come together. The Wizards elected to, pay Otto Porter, pay John Wall, pay Bradley Beal. They elected to stay within their core. They didn't do a lot bench-wise, which is going to be a very interesting conversation because they're starting 5 and 10 teams so much. But at this point in time, in electing to do that, you stuck to your core. You decided to do something different, saying that we don't need to do all that. Now the conversation becomes, okay, Scott Brooks has gotten us this far. Look what he did to Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Look what he's done to Bradley Beal and John Wall. Because, at the beginning of the season, it was seen as though they didn't even like each other. Those conversations are kind of funny now. But are you in or are you not? And prove that.
Yeah, and I think that's something that really jumps out at me. And I saw Bradley Beal and John Wall on ESPN doing an interview on The Jump. And that's what they were saying, that they see themselves as a team that can win the Eastern Conference. Yet, they're number 4 right now, so they're not doing awful. But you can't have, and we talk about the same thing with the Redskins, you cannot have these inconsistencies, whether, it maybe a DC problem going on, but you can't talk about we're a top team, we're going to win the Eastern Conference. We see you fighting with the Warriors, we see you losing to the Lakers, then you turn around, you lose to the Cavs. I mean, how are you a top team? How are you proving you're a top team, yet you don't beat the teams you're supposed to beat to show that? And that's my issue with them.
Exactly. It's really heart-wrenching. I mean, LeVar Ball said what he said about the Suns. And to that degree, it's not like Lonzo Ball went out there and beat them on his own. I mean, look at.
But they beat them.
If anything, the team just had the last laugh. But you should not go into overtime with the Los Angeles Lakers being the Washington Wizards at this point in time. You should not allow LeBron James to score 50-something points on you.
Yes.
I mean, and that be okay. And all this is done by Dwayne Wade riding the bench. It's not like anybody else had a monster game. It was LeBron and his facilitation. So at this point in time, it's like Bradley Beal, John Wall couldn't find the range, and Bradley Beal couldn't find the range, and then everybody's out here on this island. Otto Porter sit. It just wasn't the right situation. I do hope when that rematch comes back that this is a totally different situation. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
If the regular season wasn't that important, we would not be sitting here talking about how much the Cavs aren't producing in the regular season, because that's not important.
Right.
You cannot turn the light switch on and off. It's not the Lakers in the early 2000s. You cannot turn the light, and they had the most dominant player in the NBA.
Right.
You cannot have the light switch on and off. You have to be able to produce, and especially in the Eastern Conference where they're saying it's the Cavs and everybody else. To be honest, I feel some type of way about that situation. What do you mean it's just the Cavs and everybody else?
Yeah, if I'm a Wizard, if I'm on the Wizards, I'm taking that personal. And you should be stepping. And they didn't even have as many changes in the offseason. They pretty much have the same team back. So you can't talk about, well, we're trying to figure ourselves out. We have guys coming in that are trying to figure out their role and their identity on the team. No, you have the same team, but you do mention their depth, and I think that is something that will hurt them. That has already hurt them, but will continue to hurt them. If Bradley Beal gets ejected or someone goes down and they need a sub, God forbid they need a sub to get a break, then who steps up for the Wizards? And that's what we're seeing with the Sixers right now, because I know you mentioned them too. And I'm a fan of the Sixers in the sense that they're a local team. I respect them. I'm happy they're finally doing well. I grew up on the AI era, so growing up going to games, having season tickets, I am still always a fan of the Sixers, but I'm just a LeBron fan more. But I'm happy to see how they have Ben Simmons, who's coming back and this season, finally getting able to play. He's really showing that as the possible rookie of the year. I mean, he is playing phenomenal. And at such a young age, he's so dominant with his size, his ability to get to the basket, his passing ability. Are the Sixers possibly going to be a top team in the East?
I don't know about top. I mean, it's just it's nice to finally see him in the conversation. I mean, you spoke about Allen Iverson.
Yes.
But the thing about Allen Iverson is they've been looking for somebody to recreate Allen Iverson for years now.
Yeah.
And those type of players don't come around but so often, you know what I'm saying? But when you get into a situation, the Wizards actually, the opening day was against Philly at home, opening season. So, and I'm like, okay, it's Philly, they're going to come in. They were competitive, they competed. Joel Embiid looks like he deserved that money. And it's nice to see Ben Simmons being the person that everybody knew he could be. You know, last year was not the best of situations.
Right. Injuries
are not the best of things, and it's nice to see him go out and as a young fellow to see that it didn't shatter him.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, I got hurt, but I'm back to resurgence to prove what I am in this league and to show everybody that I am the guy that everybody spoke about.
Right.
If anything, in the Eastern Conference, 6, 7, 8 seed.
Yeah, I could see
that.
If
they do anything above, then it was God. But it's a good conversation. But I do want to say this back to your Wizards point about their depth. They're hoping Kelly Oubre is that guy to have a breakout season. He is a very good player, and he does that. But if he can have a breakout season and be that at that 6th man, that'd be awesome. But yeah.
Yes. You're a hopeful Wizards fan. I respect that. And we do have right now, the Celtics are now, Gordon Hayward goes down in that awful injury and they don't seem to miss a beat. Seems like their young team is stepping right up and without him. Continuing to play well. Right now at the top of the Eastern Conference, go figure. As for the Cavs and the super teams as a whole, we have the Warriors on the Western Conference, which we've seen them struggling in games. Guys getting ejected, Draymond Green, who is not my favorite player to watch because he drives me crazy, seeing his usual antics, and they're getting frustrated on the Eastern Conference. On the Eastern side, we have the Cavs who are struggling. We still don't have Dwayne Wade and D Rose are never going to be fully healthy. They're not going to play a full season. And we have Isaiah Thomas who is still out. So the super teams right now, the Cavs, the Warriors, the main super teams, and we also have OKC. Melo just got ejected. I don't know what it is about ejections. He got a flagrant 2 and was out of the game. What's going on with the super teams, and are they right now cracking under pressure a little bit?
But that ejection, if you purely saw what happened to Carmelo in that flagrant 2, he was making a move on the ball.
I don't agree with the call at all.
And just so happens, his elbow hit in the wrong position.
Right.
If you're going to call one thing, and then a couple minutes later, they just sideswipe Westbrook. And then it's like, what do you call it? You ejected a superstar, which means they're not immune. No. But you ejected him for making a play on the ball and actually trying to score.
Driving to the basket.
Go out there and elbow him. Yeah. I just think it's very unfortunate. I think
Mm-hmm.
OKC's matches up a little bit well. I'm very surprised at how well they've been gelling off the break. To
Yes.
see Russell Westbrook facilitating and passing, and that's a big conversation. A lot of people said, who's going to take that last shot? He's put a lot into Melo in taking that shot. I think people have read Russell Westbrook wrong. I think he's as much of a team player as everybody says, as much as he is, but at the same time, it's also like when you have that innate nature in you to just want to kill all the time,
Yes.
to turn that down. But it's obvious that he learned to kind of instinct with Melo, and Paul George is he's just a chill kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he's put in the right. It's kind of reminiscent of what Kevin Durant was first. Everybody had the issues with him going to the Warriors. At that point, he went to the most selfless team in the NBA, and a guy that it was selfless, it was the perfect fit. As for the Warriors, I had this conversation on my show. Everybody talking about the bad boy Pistons. We should be talking about the bad boy Warriors. Are they really bad, or are they just playing? Are they just soft in the middle as the dogs think they are? How you out here throwing mouthpieces and you all about shooting the three?
Yes.
But and then Draymond Green comes out and says, "Oh, we're not winning because guys are getting ejected." And
stop getting ejected.
Calling the kettle dry, whatever that saying is.
Stop getting ejected. Stop fighting people. Don't punch somebody. But no, I think you're right, and I think a part of it, there's a lot of different factors going on. There have been so many changes across the NBA. I know with the Cavs specifically, you didn't touch on them, but I will mention them real quick. That Kyrie Irving, Isaiah Thomas, there were other guys in the trade, but that trade doesn't work if Isaiah Thomas is not playing. And until he gets healthy, they lose out not having Kyrie Irving. The Warriors have a lot of guys back, but the Warriors also have a lot of pressure on them because they have so much talent. They're expected to repeat. They're expected to roll over everyone. So now when you have guys, and every single team that plays them is going to play their NBA final against the Warriors. They're not going to go into the Oracle and take them lightly. They're coming in there to beat them. And they're coming in there to get in Draymond Green's face and, get after them and defend them and play as hard as they can. And that's where I think they're cracking a little bit because we're seeing Steph is acting a little bit like Riley and his kids, but we're seeing emotions take over. And then OKC is just playing. And I think that's, right now, out of all the super teams, the team that is, to me, doing the best because their personalities work well together. They're just playing. They're not focused on anything else. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how this continues to pan out. It is still early, so I'm not overly worried about either side of what's going on. But, Mykell, we are unfortunately out of time. I thank you for joining us. I know. I thank you for joining us on the Sports Break here this morning. And for everyone, you can check out her podcast, Rollin with Ramos. It is a great one. Be sure to check it out. See all that she's talking about in sports. And you can always find us right here on RBN TV every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 a.m. to catch the Sports Break. I'm your host, Renee Washington, and I hope you have a great day.